keys are to the glory days at the stick. From who's got it better than us to brick by brick. It's always the 49ers way, from off-season to game day. Yeah, we talk back. It's the 49ers that.
Whoa, what is going on, Cutback crew? How you doing? Hopefully good. Seen some questions already rolling through, but big news. This is huge news. Dee Ford has restructured. He's restructured with the San Francisco 49ers. Something Ant and I talked about was going to happen, what could happen. Something that was a possibility for the San Francisco 49ers was Dee Ford, deciding, hey, let's restructure this bad boy, right? Let's keep let me keep myself around here, but let me not cost a bunch of money to the San Francisco 49ers. And it looks like he's done that. It looks like they added void years back at the end of the deal. Maybe one, maybe two, potentially. He did have a 2.94 signing bonus that could be restructured as well as part of his cap number. Kelly, you are not wrong. We are back. More breaking news, more cap update information. So let's take a look at what Field Yates had said about this situation and what exactly is going on with it. He tweeted out about an hour ago, the Niners had restructured Dee Ford. They created $4.96 million in cap space in 2022. Avoidable year. It says voidable years added. Is what he said per source. We don't know if that means one voidable year or two. If it was two voidable years, then they're probably taking about $4 million or so, maybe $5 million, and spacing that out over two years at the back end of the contract. Ford's been limited by injury, thriving in San Francisco, but 3 sacks last year in 6 games. Brought that up. Brave said Dee Ford will never leave the 49ers. They're his cash cow. Look, at the end of the day, the Niners owed him money. Like, that was part of the deal, right? They got when he came over from Kansas City. There was a lot of money on that contract still. Niners reworked it a little bit, pushed that down. But here's the good news for you, Brave. The great news is that Dee Ford did not get extended. It's a restructuring, which means the last year of his contract is still 2023. It's still next season. It's just money at the back end of his contract is now going to be some voidable money, voidable years. So there'll be some dead cap from Dee Ford. But if there's one thing that we've known and seen about the San Francisco 49ers, right, over the past, 5 years under Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch, there's not a lot of dead cap space on this football team. There's just not. There's not a lot of dead cap space on this football team. And if there's not a lot of dead cap space on this football team, that means you have the ability to, when situations like this occur with Dee Ford, where he's constantly available and just not there, you can make these type of moves. You can do those types of things. If the 49ers cut Dee Ford after June 1, he would have counted for $2.5 million. You're right. He would have. Well, no. The Niners would have saved a couple million by cutting Dee Ford, but you're still on the hook for all of that cap, that dead money. You saved more money doing this, restructuring him. You save more money doing it that way. That's the reality of the situation, and that's what the Niners decided to go with. They decided to save some more money and see if Dee Ford can be on the field, because you're going to pay him regardless, right? With Dee Ford, you're gonna pay him regardless. So keep a roster spot open. He can easily be on your 90-man roster to start the year off. If he's healthy going into the start of the season, then you have him. If he stays healthy throughout the year, great. And if he doesn't, well, you tried. You throw him on IR and you try it again the next year. It's an unfortunate situation with the head and the neck stuff. Neck and back stuff that he's dealing with. So it's going to be tough with Dee Ford. It always is. It's going to be frustrating, but he is working with San Francisco. Obviously, agreed to get paid. He signed a contract with San Francisco, and the Niners are trying to honor that agreement. They're trying to do so in a way that doesn't necessarily hamstring the team. And Dee Ford has worked with them now in 2 consecutive years to get the cap number down each and every year so the Niners can do some things around his money. And this helps. I mean, this is almost $5 million that you're saving. If you think about this, this is $4.96 million. The Niners saved $400K with 2 vet salary exemption contracts in Maurice Hurst and Jake Brendel. That's about $400K. So between the Dee Ford restructuring and those two, you moved yourself to $5 million, right? You saved $5 million. And because of that, I mean, think about the situation you had. You were $9 million over the cap, right? Yesterday, before the Javarius Ward signing, you were $9 million over is what the high end number was. That move saves you $5. So now that number is at 4. Yes, you have the Javarius Ward stuff you have to factor in, but the Niners are starting to make the moves now in order to get themselves not just under the cap, but give themselves cap space. And I talked about this, once you move off of Jimmy Garoppolo, with some of the other moves and extensions and restructures you can have close to $40 million by the time you get to Wednesday. I mean, $40 million by the time you get to Wednesday is a big deal. And not everyone is going to be signed, and not every player and free agent that's available is going to be signed by the time you get. So if you have $40 million going into Wednesday, you're in a really good spot, because a lot of teams like the Jags and Jets and the Bengals, they're gonna out, and they're gonna blow their load. They're gonna blow their load now, trying to get all these guys in and sign them. Right? DJ Chark just signed this morning with the Lions on a 1-year deal. That's gonna be probably worth a good amount of money. And maybe DJ Chark isn't gonna get as much. The details of that contract haven't necessarily come out yet. What do you see the Niners doing with the O-line? It's an incredible question. Not sure. I'm not sure. Quessenberry is still available out there. The Tennessee Titans just put a tender on him. I think it was a 2nd-round tender, maybe a 3rd-round tender. So he's going to be available. Potentially, actually, I don't even know if they tendered him. I think they waived their rights. I forget what the term is. We talked about this the other night. It's still early in the morning, and getting there. I'm getting there, boys. But the Quessenberry from the Titans is available. Will Hernandez, I've been seeing a lot of people float that out there. Also still available. Also an option the 49ers could go after. But sometimes, especially in free agency, sometimes it's about the devil right? It's the guy that you're familiar with. Tom Compton. Tom Compton is probably something that 49ers fans don't want to hear. He did great out as best run blocking right tackle in football last year. Maybe Tom Compton is the route they're going to go. Are we drafting O-line this draft in the 2nd round? Camper report, possibly, right? Not Dee Ford, but free agency itself is going to get an idea of what the Niners are doing, what the plan is, right? I know everyone's been saying draft corner. You don't draft corner now early in this draft. Maybe in the middle portions of the draft, maybe towards the back end of the 3rd round with some of the compensatory picks that you have. You're not doing it now. You're definitely not doing it with the move for Javarius Ward. You kind of showed up that room, and you could definitely still go get some other options at cornerback right now in free agency. They're going to be on the cheap to kind of fill out the depth of that room itself. A good group and a good showing. I imagine Dante Johnson's coming back at some point. I think they're definitely looking into Jason Verrett and what it's going to end up cost. I think they would love to get him on the vet minimum exemption salary and pay him $835K this year, $895K, and have a 1.05 base salary. I think they would absolutely love that. I don't know if that's going to happen. I would like them to draft a center with their 2nd, possibly. Good. They could. Here's the one thing I know about the San Francisco 49ers. They don't typically just draft a guy who can do one thing, right? Jalen Moore is a perfect example of that. Now, last year they did something different. Went with Aaron Banks. Kind of shocked everybody in the 2nd round. But Jalen Moore is more the prototypical guy that they're looking at, right? The Colton McKivitzes of the world. Justin Skills of the world. Guys who fill a lot of different roles. Daniel Brunskill, undrafted free agent, but still, regardless, it's the type of lineman they target. A guy who can play tackle, center, guard. A guy who can play guard, center. They're not looking for a guy who fits necessarily one mold type of role. So we'll see. Ant's very big on Cole Strange. I know that. Kellen Dyche is a guy that we like very much. The only problem with Kellen Dyche that I've seen on film and tape is he's not as good in the run blocking as he is in pass pros and pass sets. He's fantastic as a pass blocker. In fact, I've labeled him Nega Glinchy in my draft analysis. Basically, Mike McGlinchey, just in the passing game, right? He's excellent pass pro and questionable in the run, but that could be developed, and who knows? We'll see what happens there. We have fixed cornerback now. We definitely have. Are we re-signing K'Wan Williams? I think if the Niners had a choice right now between K'Wan and Jason Verrett, they'd rather have Verrett. I don't think they believe Verrett has lost a step. I know Verrett's got the ACL stuff that he's dealing with. I get it. I understand it. But at the end of the day, Verrett allows you more flexibility with what you can do, because you could move Verrett inside into the slot, or you can move Emmanuel Moses inside into the slot and put Verrett on the outside. So I think they would prefer Jason Verrett. I think. Maybe. I don't know. We're going to see. We're going to see what happens there. James Daniel plays center and guard. Solid player. Too great if we need to hit fit. If we need to get him, we possibly could. James Daniel is definitely a name. A TCC and the faithful can keep an eye on. But look, at the end of the day, right, this is the first domino of many to fall with cap updates and restructures and extensions. This is the first thing that's going to be happening. This right here is important. It was one of the first things that I thought could happen. There was the restructure category, and now it has. Dee Ford frees up almost $5 million all by himself in cap space for the San Francisco 49ers. And now you're starting to maneuver a little bit. And the Niners are starting to make moves knowing the big one is Jimmy Garoppolo, which is probably to fall, I mean, hopefully today, right? Hopefully today? Possibly today? I mean, we won't want it to be today. I know I do. But the Jimmy Garoppolo situation here has to fall at some point the next few days, whether that's today or whether that's tomorrow, early in the day. And then after that, you're going to have some other signings and other guys you're going to be trying to bring in, possibly an edge rusher, potentially an O-lineman. I would imagine you're going to need a re-signing of Raheem Mostert at some point, especially with the Dolphins, going kind of not all in, but definitely paying Chase Edmonds a lot more money than a lot of people thought they were going to. Do you think we still could draft Marcus Jones? Possibly. All those things are a possibility. I mean, it really depends on where some of these guys land and go. Ant is pretty set that we're going to get a wide receiver here in free agency first. Is that the first place we're going to go after? And if we're going wide receiver now, that doesn't mean we won't go wide receiver in the draft. In fact, I think it'd be silly if we didn't go wide receiver in the draft. But it's going to be one of those things where it would be a little bit tougher, right? By addressing corner right now in free agency, it would tend you to believe that you're not going to go early with a guy in the draft. So Marcus Jones, if his stock is rising and he's up there, second round, early third, maybe not. But if he's falling towards that late third, fourth round, maybe. If he's later than that, definitely. So we're gonna see. We're gonna see what happens. We'll see if this is something to do. I think the good thing that Marcus Jones has going for Camper is that he also does special teams. And so if you're the 49ers and you're gonna be drafting a guy at the cornerback position or the wide receiver position, you're looking for a guy who can fill some needs, can do a lot of different things, not just add in one area. You want them to add in one area, whether that's the cornerback room or the wide receiver room, but they also kind of need to be able to do other things on this roster to make the 53 roster. And special teams would be a big way, right? Especially if you're a wide receiver coming in. You're going to have to contend with guys like Trent Sherfield, potentially. Resigns with San Francisco and comes back. If that happens, he's a special team stud. He's a special team ace. You're going to have to compete with that. How about Kirby Joseph in the second? Actually could get INT. Maybe. We'll see. I mean, look, I think there's definitely a lot of interesting prospects and possibilities for the San Francisco 49ers in the draft. There's a lot of different ways to fill out that roster. But until free agency is complete, you just don't. It's a guessing game. Right? It's a guessing game. Everyone was saying cornerback was the biggest need going into the draft. I've heard cornerback, I've heard O-line, I've heard receiver, I've heard edge rusher, right? I've heard a lot of different things. So if the Niners were not to do anything else, they don't make any other big signing, it's just re-signing players and signing a bunch of nobodies, then there's going to be some holes to fill. The O-line holes and needs to fill. There's going to be some edge rusher and interior D-line help that's going to be needed to be filled. You're going to have to fill some cornerback depth as well. You want to try and get at least one more solid guy. So, they're going to sign some guys, but the question is, are they going to sign any more big-name guys? We're definitely going to have to see. We have to stop the top two wide receivers in the division. Agreed, Haveshan, you do have to do that. And, the signing last night of Charvarius Ward starts putting you in a better position to be able to handle that. I think they're very excited about what he was able to do against guys like Jamar Chase in the AFC last year and had some success against him. So I think they're excited about that. I think they're excited about the possibility of being able to run more man successfully, because we ran a lot of man this past season on third downs and didn't have success getting off the field. I think they think Charvarius Ward is going to help in that category. If I'm drafting for the Niners, going offensive line and edge rusher, leave skill players to free agency is what Maurice is saying. It's definitely a good option. There's a lot of good skill position players out there. I think Christian Kirk's contract yesterday kind of threw everybody for a loop, and it really effed with the market a little bit. DJ Chark, it looks like he's signing a 1-year deal. We'll see if that kind of swings things back in the other direction. And if it does, then, wide receivers may become more cost effective, because as of right now, Christian Kirk's crazy contract number is it's kind of messing with the market a little bit. I think people are freaking out. I definitely think teams are freaking out. It seems Niners are hoping all these injured player come back next year and perform for them. Look, sometimes that's what you do, right? Is you're bringing guys in, you're doing different things with your roster, and guys come in, play well, or get hurt. Their market value isn't really set. It's not really available. especially if they've been hit or hurt a couple times. Maurice Hurst is not one of those guys, right? Maurice Hurst hasn't been hurt a bunch. He got hurt last year, and it was the same injury a couple of different times: lower leg injury, calf, ankle, on the same foot, and it just messed with his ability to go out there and produce. So at the end of the day, he's coming back because he's betting on himself. He's watching what just happened to Arden Key. He's like, I can do that. Look at DJ Jones. I can do that. DJ Jones was a 6th round pick. I can be that. I can do those things. He's betting on himself. He's betting on Chris Kasarik. That's the nice thing the Niners have going for them with D-line and interior D linemen. You have the best coach in the league who's getting paid a butt ton of money to make these guys this, right? To take 6th round picks and turn them into $30 million a year, $30 million contract players, $10 million a year. That's what Chris Kasarik's job is. That's why he gets paid more than any other position coach in the league, is because he's really good at it. And now he's done it a handful of times. So we'll see. I mean, I still think that Dominic Sue is a guy who could end up in San Francisco. That's a name to keep an eye on. Sue has landed with Chris Kasarik in 2 different stops in his career. He started with him in Detroit. He ended up with him in Miami as well. And he very well could end up in San Francisco. I know that may freak some people out. Locker room. Dominic Sue is still a force on the interior, and if you're looking to shore up the interior of the D-line, that is definitely a name to keep an eye on. How much does this restructuring help the cap? It does. It's about almost $5 million. It's 4.96 is what the restructuring does. It doesn't extend him either, so I don't want people to get confused with this. Dee Ford is not extended. He's not staying in San Francisco longer. So if you're someone who wants to get off of Dee Ford, you still get to get off of him next year. 2023 is the last year of his contract. So 2023 is still the last year. All the Niners did was add some voidable years to the end of the contract and push money down the road, right? So this is what Tampa Bay did last year with like four or five of their guys to try and keep their window open. They did that last year with 4 or 5 of their guys, including Tom Brady, who is in the last year of his contract with Tampa, but is still going to get paid for 2 more years after this season. This is what teams are doing now. They're voiding years out at the end and paying guys dead money so they can try and keep that window open a little bit longer. Except for the 49ers, you're not voiding out years of Dee Ford's contract to keep the window open. You're voiding out years of the contract to give yourself more flexibility. That's the big difference between what the Niners are doing with voided years and dead cap money with players, and what other teams like the Saints have done, other teams like the Rams have done, other teams like the Bucs have done. Those teams have been trying to keep the window open as long as humanly possible. The Niners are trying as best they can to give themselves more flexibility, more room to do things now. The Niners are, I think they rank 3rd to last in the league in dead cap. That means they don't have that much dead cap, like ever. And if they don't have dead cap, I mean, it means more players you can sign, more things you can do. That's a positive thing. This goes a positive thing for this team. And Juanito, you are not wrong. $5 million helps, and hit the like button for the early news. Hit the like button right now, subscribe as well, because this is just the first news to drop of the day. There's more news coming. And as soon as it hits, you can bet your bottom dollar it'll either be me, Ant, or the both of us on here talking about what is going on with the 49ers and what they just did. And either excitement or, like last night with Javarius Ward, right? Confusion, acceptance, and then a realization that, okay, the Niners have done something that they think fits the scheme, which is great. It was great to have, because there was a lot of different feelings on that last night, and the live stream was, talk about lit. Ooh, good God almighty was that live stream lit last night. It was a lot of Maurice, it's Trent Baalke. I don't think nobody is taking what he does seriously. He's not part of the ecosystem. He's not. I think that's why you have DJ Chark signing a 1-year deal with the Lions. I think it's the reality, right? The funny thing about this is if the Niners actually use Ford in the right situation, he stays healthy, most of the year he can make a big difference. Agreed. He had 3 sacks in 6 games last year. He had 3 sacks in 6 games last year. I mean, he was fine. In a couple of those games, he was playing through some. He started off the year, the first game back, with a sack. Dee Ford still has it. Dee Ford's body is the thing that doesn't necessarily have it right now. That neck and that back is no joke. It is tough. It is tough to manage. And Dee's frustrated. I know Dee's frustrated. He has to be. How could you not be? You're a competitor. You don't keep coming back from a neck injury, right? I mean, we're talking about a situation where if he takes the wrong shot, he might not be, the same person anymore. Might not be someone who can get up and walk around the way he wants to, moves the way he wants. When you're messing around with neck stuff, that's no joke. That's your life. But football's his life also. He obviously doesn't feel that there's that much damage enough to prevent him from playing, and I think he wants to try and go out on his own terms. This is reality. This is a guy who's been very close to a Super Bowl 2 separate occasions, once with the Chiefs and once with San Francisco in 2019. He saw that what the team did last year, and I bet you he thinks if he had been playing in 2021, maybe they win some more football games. Maybe they're in a better position. Maybe they get back to a Super Bowl. Maybe they have a chance. I don't think he wants to go out this way. He's trying to write his own legacy, right? He's trying to go out on his own terms. I know people keep saying, he could retire. You're right, he could. He still could retire. Could retire, and there's a retirement settlement coming, and the Niners would be able to potentially save more money in that situation. But Dee Ford would have to get there. The Niners can't force that situation. Can't force that hand. He has to get there himself. If Dee Ford thinks he can play and wants to try, more power to him. Do it, man. Go get it done. Let's see what happens, and let's see if we can get you on the field, because any part of a healthy Dee Ford on the field for San Francisco is not a loss for San Francisco. The loss is not having him on the field and having to continue to pay him money that he's not necessarily out there earning in the first place. Well, he has definitely earned it with his play, but not currently earning because of the situation with his health. Seems like cornerback won't be our first priority in the draft after the Ward signing. Agreed. Hopefully we bolster defensive line D end early in the draft, or Luis, or it still could be happening here in free agency. There are some wave 1, wave 2 guys who may take less money. And if they're taking less money, you're talking about situations where Chandler Jones could take less money and do some big things for the San Francisco 49ers. Dante Fowler could take a little bit less than maybe what the number is. And actually got cut by Atlanta last year. I mean, he got cut by Atlanta this offseason. People may not feel he has it anymore. I think he definitely still has the speed. It's definitely something worth kicking the tires on and seeing if there's anything there. There's still Tack McKinley, too. People forget about that. He's still a young guy. Still a young guy with a lot of potential and promise. We'll see. Will they cut Samson Ebicon to save $6.5 million? I actually think it's $7.5. I think it's about $7 million. Actually, if they cut Samson. I think the more realistic expectation for Samson Ebicon, rather than cutting him and saving money, is extending him and saving money. You extend him, you still save about $3.5–4 million. So you save roughly what you save with Dee Ford. You push some of that money down the road, and you get that number to a little bit more friendly, because that $7.5 million seems like a lot for him right now, especially without the sacks. Maybe you give him a 2-year extension that's a little more backloaded, a decent number next year, and the year after that, a little bit more of an incentive built number. Give him a little bit more guaranteed money, give him a little bit more stability without locking him into a long-term contract where he feels maybe, hey, in a couple more years here, I'm going to feel like my value's through the roof. Well, he can still go out and test free agency after a couple of years. So we'll see. I think the more likely scenario is that. I think before cutting him, I think trading him would be a more viable option, because I think a team is going to see his development from last year and be willing to up to get that. And keep in mind, all you did was sign him. It didn't cost you anything else. You just signed him last year. So if you're able to deal him away and get some capital in return, that'd be a better situation than cutting him to free up the $6.5 million. The Niners have shown, and John Lynch's comments the past couple of weeks have kind of led me to believe that it's less likely to them to get rid of someone who produced for them last year in terms of like a cut. It'd be more of a trade situation. They're more willing to let someone who produced for them last year walk away in free agency, because as tough as that may be, you can try and go sign someone to bring it back in, or maybe there's someone in the draft you feel can replace that, and you can get some compensatory picks back in return. It seems like that's the route they want to go. I think that's more likely of a scenario and a situation, but we'll see if that stays that way, or if they go back to wanting to keep their guys here in San Francisco, or feeling like, hey, we need to make a big splash and a big move and trade for somebody. It could happen. I mean, their trade's starting to go down. There's teams starting to make moves. I know the Patriots had a swap this morning with, I think it was the Browns, if I'm not mistaken. Patriots traded Chase Winovich, their linebacker, for Browns linebacker Mack Wilson. That was a straight up swap of players. So there you go. In Cardinals news, by the way, they converted DeAndre Hopkins' roster bonus into a signing bonus and created $7.1 million in cap space this year. So there's that. Whew, my goodness gracious, that's a lot. That absolutely is a lot. We should sign Miles Jack, linebacker. Possibly. Maybe. I have a feeling Miles Jack is going to get some money, though. I think someone's going to pay him. I don't know. He's athletic as all heck. I can tell you that. He's fast, he's athletic, he does a lot of things. I don't know if he's great against the run, personally. I don't think he's that good against the run, but he's athletic as all heck. Sir Juju, Jimmy to Carolina? Don't tease me, Sir Juju. Don't tease me right now. Don't do that. It's early in the morning. My senses aren't necessarily all there yet. I'm still drinking coffee and trying to get myself to that point where I could, actively understand what is happening. Don't you dare. Don't you dare tease me like that. Jimmy to Carolina stuff. Listen, I think the Carolina Panthers are out on this until something happens. They're out until something happens with Deshaun Watson. It's the reality. That's the reality. What do we get back for Jimmy? I think the reality right now is the Niners are looking at the Carson Wentz deal. Sorry, it was a question. Yeah, put that question mark there. You gotta put that question mark there. You got me all excited. Now I have to come down from my excitement level. Questions. Carolina is going for Deshaun right now. If one of those teams, Carolina or the Saints, is not going to get him, and once that happens, they're coming flying back into the Jimmy Garoppolo conversation. And I think the Niners have set the number at about Carson Wentz's deal, right? I think they want a second and a third. I think ideally they want a second and a third at the moment. What they're looking at, that's what the Colts got. They got 2 third-round picks, and that 1 third-round pick is an escalator to a second if Carson plays 70% of his game. 70%. Well, Carson played more than 70% last year, so the likelihood is he's going to play that 70%. So it's really a second and a third, and then they swapped second-round picks as well. I think it was in 2020. I think it was no. They swapped seconds this year, and it's a third next year, and potentially a third the following year, or an escalator to a second in 2023. Yes, 2023. So I think the Niners ideally a second and a third is what they're looking at. That's what they want. I don't think the Colts want to pay it because that's what they just gave up to get. They gave Carson Wentz up and got that in return, so they don't want to have to turn around and invest that in Jimmy Garoppolo, right? So they're trying to find a way to not have to do that. It's like, can we not? How about a second and like a fifth? You guys like 5th round picks. You do really well with them. A second and a fifth, we'll do that. And so the Niners are just waiting for that next team to be serious. But you have to let the Deshaun Watson stuff play out. Originally, it was letting Aaron Rodgers and Russell Wilson play out. Those played out great. And then Deshaun Watson, everything happens with that. And now you kind of, oh boy. Oh, we're losing me here for a second. My apologies, Cutback crew. All right. Okay. We lost me there for a second. The audio probably was fine. The video was starting to go there for a little bit. OBS was like dying on me for about half of a second there. We lost some frames, but we're back. Everything's going to be A-okay. It'll be fine. Ooh. So anyway, I think the reality of the reality of the situation is that until Deshaun Watson picks a team, which hopefully is today, so that the Niners can move on with Jimmy Garoppolo as well, until that happens, you're just waiting. It's just a waiting game. That's all you got. Need to clear his contract, get him off our roster, possibly. Hopefully we draft Wan'Dale Robinson or Khalil Shakir in the draft. Both of those would be great. I like Khalil Shakir a lot. Khalil Shakir from Boise State is fantastic, and I absolutely love everything he has to do and everything he brings to the table. So we're gonna see. Someone say trade Bosa. Can someone please remove all narcotics from this person because they must be high? Listen, he was talking about. Great One was talking about this last night. We understand where he's coming from. You know, having to pay $30 million, he'd rather pay that for your quarterback than Bosa. The problem is that I think if you're the 49ers, you're going to be able to work out that contract in a way that the first probably 2 years of that contract, you're not paying 30. You're paying that 30 eventually later on down the road in other ways. And there's going to be a lot of incentives in that contract. There's going to be a lot of incentives. So there's ways to move that money around. About, the player being negotiable and wanting to work around the deal. And it's about a lot of things. But anyway, PCC, I'm going to take off for right now. There's going to be plenty of 49ers news. We'll catch you for the next bit of it. All right, Dee Ford Restructure saves the Niners $5 million. Catch you on the next one. And until then, stay safe. And remember, the right way is always 49ers way.